The family of Awaab Ishak have called for legislation to stop further deaths caused by mold in homes. His parents met Housing Secretary Michael Gove in Rochdale to push for Awaab's law after a coroner ruled the 2-year-old died of a respiratory condition caused by exposure to mold. His father, Faisal Abdullah, complained to the landlord for 3 years. Mr. Gove said some people in the borough were still living in homes not really fit for human habitation. Christian Weaver, part of the family's legal team, said the family had no confidence in the Rochdale Borough-wide Housing (RBH) board and called for their resignation as they believe there is an ever-present risk and danger to their tenants. He said Mr. Gove had given his support to Awaab's law. The family are trying to push for the implementation of an Awaab's law to ensure no other family go through what they have been through. He said Awaab's law would significantly improve the experiences of those living with mold and damp in their properties and is therefore crucial. We are pleased that the Secretary of State has provided his support for an Awaab's law. The family are acutely aware that during a time of tragedy politicians often will make positive comments and that change does not always follow. However, Mr. Weaver said the family were pleased that Mr. Gove had agreed to give them regular updates on legal changes and agreed to meet them back in Rochdale in 6 months. Mr. Gove told BBC Northwest tonight it was unforgivable that conditions in homes in parts of Rochdale were not really fit for human habitation. He said damp and mold was a big problem in Rochdale that needed to be addressed, but that it was an issue in housing across the UK. The boss of RBH, which rented the mouldy flat to the family, was sacked 4 days after the inquest which ruled on Awaab's death in 2020. After a meeting with Mr. Gove earlier, RBH's board said it told the Housing Secretary it welcomed the impartial scrutiny the regulator would bring and acknowledged we got things wrong and were deeply sorry. But a government source said Mr. Gove had an unsatisfactory meeting with RBH and did not have confidence in the leadership of the Housing Association, which failed to explain how it would ensure tenants' safety. Awaab's family first raised the issue of mold in the flat in 2017, but it had not been fixed by the time of his death in 2020. His inquest heard that his father, who came from Sudan to the UK in 2016 and was joined by his wife Aisha Amin a year later, had reported mold in their flat to RBH in 2017 and was told to paint over it. In June 2020, the family contacted solicitors and initiated a claim over the recurring mold issue, but policy meant any repairs would not be done until an agreement had been reached. The inquest heard Awaab had consistently suffered from cold and respiratory issues. He died after being rushed to hospital with shortness of breath in December that year. RBH board said in a statement after meeting Mr. Gove, "We acknowledged again that we got things wrong and how deeply sorry we are for the loss of Awaab, and that we know that our words would not take away the pain that is being felt by his family. We explained to the Secretary of State that we welcomed the impartial scrutiny that the regulator will bring, and we look forward to working more closely with all parties over the coming months." Why not follow BBC Northwest on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram? You can also send story ideas to northwest.newsonline@bbc.co.uk. The BBC is not responsible for the content of external sites.